Hi, welcome to session 2 of Against the Fae Queen, a reskin of Against the Dark Conspiracy using Shane's Fate of the Fae Queen setup for Fate of Cthulhu. A time travel experiment, which we will see how it goes. In the last session, the players' characters returned from the future, stepping through the doorway into summer and meeting up with their allies in the past, Professor Vogel, father of their leader in the future, Holger Vogel, otherwise known as, I gave him the code name Trollbane, and I've added him to the Faces and Places tab, which I'm hoping to actually use for once in an Against the Dark Conspiracy game. Although, of course, Alan, do feel free, as usual, to start filling up the area below the Operation tab. And we took a vote, I believe, on what the first catalyst, what first of these events in time that we would deal with. And so I have hidden the rest of them for now, just to save space again. And that was What Fools These Mortals Be, which involves the Met Gala and a Grimm manuscript previously unpublished, known to Mr. Clock and the future Vogels to be of some significance, because the one published edition of this sits on Professor Vogel's shelves and had a clue to the Fairy Queen's origins. So who knows what secrets the manuscript, unpublished, unedited, might have. Of course, this is the Met Gala, so there will be a lot of celebrities and fancy dress and everything like that. And the future tells us that those people did not come away from this event quite the same. And they became envoys and seemingly vassals of the Queen in the future, and almost seem to have prepared her way, filling the world with images and art that represent the coming of the Fae Queen. So, who knows who stole the manuscript when it originally disappeared from the Met Gala? No one was ever found. And who knows what happens to the celebrities there? That is what we will find out in the briefing in the preparation section of the game. So to walk it through I tell you what, let's introduce your characters, and why don't you tell me just one thing, just tell your character's name and then tell me something about either something about you in the future, or for the present day characters, how you're dealing with this knowledge of the future, how this has impacted you knowing the future. And let's start off with on the far right of the character keeper with Mr. Hans Jochen Vogel himself.
So Professor Vogel is a professor for literature, currently working in New York at the New York University. And he's a professor for German language and literature with a specialization in the 19th century Romantic era fairy tales, folklore, and so forth. And I think he has taken the information pretty well, I would say, probably because, he's dealing with the fictional world all the time. And I think that the delineation between fairy tales and the real is less drastic than for others.
Yeah, he's always perhaps felt like these tales tell us something about reality. So is it strange that they too turn out to in fact have some reality to them?
And I mean, the Grimm brothers, they pursued their goal to kind of unearth the wisdom, the untamed wisdom of the people by listening to these stories and collecting them.
Nice. A good amount of rationalization there from Professor Vogel. Yeah.
Yes.
And then next up, we have Puckett's character.
Hi there, I'm Puckett. I'll be playing Felicity, aka Reaper, or the Reaper Quinn. She's basically an assassin for an organized crime syndicate, and her boss was killed in a way that seemed physically impossible, and she is out for both answers and blood. She somehow survives to the future and keeps her code name, her AKA then. But in the present term, well, she's just angry and looking for someone, anyone really, who needs a bullet.
Nice. And I think the future has informed you of, though there are plenty of not just people, but things that need bullets. So, yeah.
Frankly, most things and people need bullets put in them.
Yes. Out of the optimist. Next up is Alan.
Hello, my name is Alan. My pronouns are he, him, and I will update my Zoom tag in a moment. Well, I am playing Michael Enders, aka Gilgamesh. And Gilgamesh has come from the future, so he's traveled back in time. And in the future, under the regime of the Fairy Queen, he's a member of a group called the Yesterday Folk. And they are people who try to keep some of the lore and understanding of the past alive in the future. Kind of librarians, kind of hoarders of information from the past. But what prepared him for this mission back into the past was the fact that he's come close to the power of the Fairy Queen, and he's been slightly warped by it, but imbued with the power to harness the darkness at the heart of the Fairy Queen. And he's been warped by it. I've changed on the basis of what we talked about last time. Well, I've altered it now, so he has dew claws. So he has retractable claws in the heel of his hand. Because he has to have the fingers, because otherwise his spark specialism doesn't use much use. But I think in terms of, he knows that the future is going to kill his younger brother. And he knows that the future is going to change him out of all recognition from the PhD engineering student he was. And that makes him angry.
Nice. You know, he's the best there is at what he does, and what he does isn't pretty, right? A quote that perhaps I think maybe only Puckett has got out of that, but yes. Okay, Paul.
Hello, I'm Paul, he, him, and the character I'm playing this evening is Thaddeus Wertenberger, aka the Clockmaker, and he has travelled from the future back to the past, where he's going by the name Mr. Clock. He was disassembled in the future. Some fairy creatures thought it'd be quite funny to remove his flesh from his bones. But in that respect, he sort of had the last laugh, because he'd prepared a clockwork body where he sort of reassembled himself. And yeah, travelled back in time with Gilgamesh to hopefully stop the fairy apocalypse.
And as of last session, you sought out the teachings of your rabbi at the 32nd Street Temple. Feel free to change the picture of Rabbi Kohut if you don't like the one that's in Faces and Places.
He looks suitably rabbi-ish.
Yeah, I think that is Nick Offerman, art done up as a rabbi in a like fan fiction style drawing. So the guy from Parks and Rec.
It does indeed look like.
Yeah,
that's a sad thing I have in my head. A rabbi from art.
And yeah, he asked you to be merciful before sending you out onto the street with a card for a psychiatrist.
Indeed. How little does he know?
How little does he know? But luckily, I think because you rolled a 1 to 3, you actually don't need to be merciful. That was me mentally confusing the rules there. It was only on a 4+ that you need to do the penance, because your penance didn't actually come. So, great. So we know now over to the What Fools These Mortals Be operational tab. And I will remind
excuse me. I have one question about do we know the real names of the people, or is it like the conspiracy where we have to refer to each other with our code names? So do I know that it's Mr. Enders, for example, or is it Mr. Gilgamesh?
No, I'm very happy to. I will have introduced yourself as Michael Enders. I think Gilgamesh is the thing I'm known as in the future.
Okay, So I think that Professor Vogel would have a hard time referring to someone as Gilgamesh with a straight face.
And how about Thaddeus?
Mr. Clock.
Mr.
Mr.
Clock.
Clock sounds good.
Is that how you that's how everyone knows you as Mr. Clock now?
Mr. Clock. I
Mr.
think
Clock.
Professor Vogel, maybe we need to come up for one with you. Mr.
There was-
Orange. Mr. Orange, maybe.
Mr. Pink.
Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
Mr. Brown is pretty close to Mr. Shit, though.
Yeah, yeah. We have that scene in the thing. So, Paul, just so I can keep some sort of consistency, are you Mr. Clock or the clockmaker?
I think in present time I'm Mr. Clock.
Mr. Clock. I like
I have
it.
to say, I last time I endlessly referred to him as just Clock.
Clock. Yeah. Which is a useful portmanteau of it all. And of course, Reaper's probably the one who kicked all this off because she came in with it from the normal times with a assassin code name, didn't she? So, yeah.
Is this Miss Reaper or Mrs. Reaper?
It's just Reaper. And to be blunt, most of the people who call me that have only heard about me, because the people who have seen me are either giving me jobs or the targets of those jobs. So, people call me the Reaper because I show up, and really nobody after that gets to say much else.
Yes. I think the reason people call you the Reaper is fairly self-explanatory.
Yes.
Now,
Death
I
comes,
suppose my
and that
question
right
is,
soon.
yeah, my one question is what do you prefer to be called by Professor Vogel in particular?
By Professor Vogel, for fuck's sake, I have a first name. It's Felicity.
There we go. Okay. So with that, lovely bonding moment, and I will say, I will offer anyone any chance at any time they wish to seek relief from the horror, simply interject it. We will obviously, invite a round of that after an operation, but you can take it at any point during the proceedings if it makes fictional sense. And during this pre-operation phase is where you have the most leeway in terms of framing a scene, because this doesn't necessarily take place in like a day. This is I'm imagining that like any scenes that we do outside of an operation will cover the space of days, possibly weeks of being in New York, finding your ground, working things out. It doesn't have to be like a single moment kind of thing. And as such, let's move over to the What Fools These Mortals Be tab. And this is the basics. Now I'm leaving the operational objective open for you guys to fill in. But we do have the who and what of the focus operation is the unpublished Brothers Grimm manuscript. That is what Trollbane thought was the most important thing when he went back here. The changing of the celebrities and the weirdness around that is something that he viewed as a secondary objective, to be stopped if you could. But who knows? The secret, he thinks that the secret to killing the Queen lies within this manuscript, based upon what he knew of his father's published version on the shelves, which was, of course, sadly lost in the future. We don't know. The opposition is currently marked as the unknown thieves who were never identified, stealing from one of the world's most prestigious museums. They were either very lucky, very skilled, or maybe they were you all along. Who knows? And we know that it is at the Met Gala. When I have put out some of the areas there, that is not a limitation, but that is just an idea of the kind of, the main, what I would view as the main places of the Met Gala. We have the red carpet, the ballroom, where there's sort of, they have their dinner and they swank, do the speeches and etc. The kitchens, of course, where everything is prepared. The green rooms, apparently the Met Gala, the Met has lots of little green rooms dotted around so the celebrities can go in and touch up their costumes and makeup and stuff like that, or just have a bit of private space. And then the exhibition itself, which is, probably the focus of your intent at this point. It's in the Metropolitan Museum in New York. I'm sure we're all at least vaguely familiar with the concept of the Metropolitan Museum. And I have also added at the bottom of the other details bit, I've added, you know, the timeline briefing, essentially. And I've also added the itinerary of the evening of the Met Gala. And this is what I've taken directly from the Met Gala description online. You know, every Met Gala essentially has this cocktail hour, a tour of the exhibition, a dining party, and I've added entertainment at the end when we have Lin-Manuel Miranda's performance of A Midsummer Night's Dream. It's a musical, of course. And just before we go into this, I encourage you all to insert a celebrity of your choice into any scene that you wish, frankly, because it's that kind of event. But the one condition is that you have to tell me what their costume is. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to start from the left-hand side of the keeper, because that is, I think, the order of experience in many ways. Well, slightly inverted with Paul and Alan. I think Alan slightly tops Paul on the experience of Against the Dark Conspiracy by just a nudge. But let's start off with
playing it.
Not playing it, true. Let's start off with Mr. Clock. What would you like to do? You know that you have a choice between investigative scenes or preparation scenes.
I would like to prep getting some weapons inside the gala.
Okay, that is a prep scene. Just going to remind myself on spending intel during the briefing to add details to the briefing or ask control to do so. So you can also use your intel to, I suppose, to just ask me a question, right? In terms of this sense, would that make sense, Alan?
Yeah, because you're running from a scaffolding.
Yeah.
So yeah. we can't just declare stuff, because that might run entirely against what you've prepped. So yeah, I think it is, we can ask you to reveal something. I mean, usually it must be said, people leave that till after they've done the investigation to see if there are any gaps that are left.
Yeah. I'm just mentally debating whether I'd allow the spend of an intel to be a preparatory scene, rather than adding a detail.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't.
No?
Because it gives them a chance of getting intel and you a chance of getting heat. That's
true. No, then we'll wait for that one. So Paul, I will ask you before we move on, is there any intel that you would like to spend to ask a question about something? And I will give you, on the spend of an intel, I will give you essentially like the minimum needed to proceed as a result of a success without generating heat on a investigative scene. I think that's how I'll hand rule this bit, basically.
Yeah, I'll spend a point of intel. So what I'd like to know is what security systems guard the exhibit?
The exhibition is guarded very sparsely, to be honest. It doesn't have any additional security beyond what the Met Museum already has, which is mostly glass cases with, they do have sensors in. If someone was to break the glass case, then an alarm would go off. There are CCTV cameras, but not, this exhibition isn't under any particular security beyond the standard Met thing. So rather than me going into an exhaustive list of museum security measures, I think you can get a good read for that, basically. There are, of course, armed guards because it's America. So there is a police detail, of course, because this is a very high event. Security is higher around the museum, not necessarily within the exhibit, if you see what I mean.
Excellent, thank you.
And then we move on to Gilgamesh.
Yeah, I think I would like to do some investigating. I think I want to know about where I'm interested in whether and how I could trigger a distraction like fire suppression system, because I think that would be a helpful thing to know.
Okay.
And so I think I'd like to frame a scene in which Gilgamesh is That's an interesting question. Gilgamesh is going to go to City Hall and is going to ask to see, you know, the filed architect's plans. And if anyone gets a bit uppity about this, I'm going to remind them that I am a member of the public. I have every right to know how public buildings like the Met is protected in case of emergencies, because if I end up taking some of my class of school children there, I need to know that it is safe. So just show me the plans.
And this woman, you know, like with the big bottle glasses and everything, you know, the hair, and, you know, Janice from Ghostbusters basically is looking at you and going, "Oh, well, no need to get angry, young man. This is really strange.
There is every reason to get angry, old woman.
Okay. What did you say your name was? Michael Enders? Okay, I got you here in the system. No problem. But boy, you look like shit. You're supposed to be. Sorry, I didn't say that. You should get more sleep, young man. You really look much older than
me
I thought."
the plans.
Gosh, these NYU students. Down there on the left, third right. Don't come crawling to me if you can't find it. As she has looked up the young Michael Enders in the database and seen that, wow, you've really been suffering for your uni years.
Clean cut.
Yeah.
You know, 23-year-old, now 33, looks 43.
Seen some shit.
Been a hard decade.
Okay, if you'd like to roll me.
So I'll go either technical for the plans or authority to get them.
I think technical in this case, because I think what you've asked for is not a particularly difficult thing to get hold of in terms of...
And that would be fine if I could currently use my expertise. So I think that we see Enders go down.
Remember, you could spend a point of intel to get back the use of your expertise.
Exactly. I am going to spend a point of expertise, and in the words of the rule, I am going to, where's it gone? You see, it's not in a tab that I thought it was going to be in.
Sorry.
I am going to, at any time during play, recover your expertise as they focus on what they know and get their mojo back.
Yeah.
And to get my mojo back, I will just draw one dew claw down the back of the other arm, just to focus my mind.
Remember that this is all real, right? This world seems so real. The world ahead seems so not. But yeah, evidence. Yeah. Cool.
Remind me what I'm here for.
Yeah.
So, and I think I've only got 2 stress. I'm going to include my stress dice as well.
Why
not? And that
nice.
is a 5.
Nice. So on a 5, you get the bare minimum, and you get something extra. So I think the bare minimum that you need is that yes, you could certainly trigger the fire alarms and the fire suppressant systems and any of that. It is, because it is the Met, it is a gas-based suppressant system within the museum areas, because they do not want to damage any of the materials with just a sprinkler system. In the ballroom, it is probably a sprinkler system, but it is not across the whole building. You know, it has a fairly sophisticated alarms like fire suppression system, because you do not want the small fire in the men's room to destroy the fine art in the costume gallery.
Yeah, fine.
And do you have any fictional positioning that you need to, you know, pull a panel off the wall somewhere and get access to it, right? Like.
Okay, so we know where the fire suppression system could be triggered from.
And for the extra benefit, I mean, given that you've been studying the building plans and your technical knowledge here, what would you like the extra benefit to perhaps to be?
I think I'd like the extra benefit to be based on the plans. If we needed a inverted commas secret way in or out, what's the best way?
Interesting. The best way is probably through the, I think that there is probably some kind of basement that goes on, that is above a subway tunnel and is only separated by a wall between the disused subway tunnel.
Thank you.
So it is a wall, not a door, but
Yeah.
it's, no one goes there, no one knows anything. It would be completely below the radar. A bit like that jewelry heist in London all those a few years ago.
I'm with you. Thank you. That'll
Yeah.
do me very nicely.
Okay. And then on to Felicity.
Much like Michael was doing, I'm looking for exfil and infill points, because I want to know if things go sideways, because let's be blunt, they probably will. I want to know how to get out with as few people as possible between us and an exit. You know, I want to find out where to put a car, for example, that we can scramble into and get away. You know, this is stuff that is well within my expertise as an assassin, even though right now I can't use my expertise until stress goes up. So I think, as far as I can tell, that gives me 1 die to roll for this.
Yes, I think having a car stashed somewhere nearby is perhaps a preparation action rather than an investigation action.
Okay.
Because Alan didn't actually do the roll to get into the fire systems. He just set himself up with knowing where they were and knowing the things, if that makes sense. So you can defer, or you can, do you have a point? I think you earned a point of intel, didn't you, with a roll of 6, I think, at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could spend that intel to ask me a question about the operation or any of the details, and I will give you the minimum.
I mean, just by the by, you could just call on a contact when the time comes to have a getaway car and driver on call.
And you're both right.
Or a
on that.
helicopter, for that matter.
My point is, I would like to make a roll so I can try to get some stress and use my expertise.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to wait for the preparation section, I'll come back to you for that.
Sure.
Yeah. If you don't, do you want to spend an intel to ask a question, or do you want to keep all of it?
I want to keep the intel.
Cool. I figured you would. That's my experience of playing with you is that you have so much intel by the end of a session. It's incredible. But you do roll a lot of 6s. So yeah.
I try to. I especially love it when it's the devil's roll and it comes up with 3 6s.
Yes.
That heartens me.
Professor Vogel.
I don't know. I think I would like to know more about the potential thieves.
Okay.
So it's an investigation, I guess.
Yeah, it's an investigation, and I think it would be safe to say that, you know, you're staking out the Met, right? So surely the other thieves are staking out the Met as well. Can you? And they don't know about you, but you know about potentially them, right?
So is the Metropolitan, is it open? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'd say it's open. I think probably the Met Gala stuff, like, it's maybe like temporarily shut for a couple of days or something, you know, but like most of it's open for the build up to it. And then I don't, you know, let's not get bogged down in the details of it. It's as open as you want it to be, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. So the scene would probably be, I describe a scene, I set up a scene.
Yes, yeah. To tell me how you're doing I would accept corporate or insight, I think, based upon however you're approaching this.
I can't see Professor Vogel, you know, sitting on a roof with binoculars or something. So he's probably... Oh.
Sorry, someone's rang my doorbell, which doesn't happen very often. So give me 1 second.
Quick, guys, give me your tips.
I mean, this could be about who you know this area of study. You might know other people who would be interested in acquiring it.
Yeah, I was thinking about you know, checking I don't know, checking
I've
in
got a
with.
package from Amazon, which I haven't ordered from Amazon in like a year. So I'm just going to go see what the hell that is, guys. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. We need the time, actually. I need the time.
I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe checking with antiquarians or with universities about other people who try to get hold of the books. Probably an antiquariat is more likely.
And you must know that there are some shady operators in those
Yeah.
areas.
Disgraced academics is what I was going to suggest.
Yeah. So I mean that would allow you to claim insight for putting together these bits of information you already have, for instance.
Yeah. And so just about this, the system mastery bit, would it be I declare one scene where I talk to an East European antiquarian who works for the mafia, or would it be like a scene of, you know, I go to different bookstores, or
any way you want to play it, really. You know, a montage of you visiting a number of different locations and talking to, you know, guys in dusty libraries and basements, and then making some phone calls. Anything that would justify the outcome you're looking for.
Yeah, okay,
which is I want to use insight to put the pieces together and identify a potential someone who is likely to be interested in this.
Yeah, or has inquired about the book in the past.
Yeah, exactly.
Paul, Alan, you might know this, but there's a bookstore in the UK. I want to say it's like Henry Southern, something like that, that's been around for something like 200, 300 years. Is that ringing any bells?
It isn't really. I mean, whenever I think of old bookshops, I think of Foyles, but Charing Cross Road is where all the bookshops used to be.
Yeah, I've only read 6 fiction books in my entire life, so I'm not the man who asks about books.
Hang on.
Okay.
Foyles, Grant and Cutler at Foyles, Lovejoy's, Henry Porter's Books Limited. Of course, you know, back in the day. Let me try oldest bookshop in London.
Sotheran's is one of the longest established antiquarian booksellers in the world, founded in 1761.
There you go then.
It was nothing exciting. It was apparently this is how the training provider is sending out their training materials, is ordering the book off Amazon and sending it to you, which is different, I suppose. But yeah.
Anyway, Horst, if you want to hit up like a bookstore or something like that, and a bookseller like that would probably know the players in the field who would have such a thing, who would be interested in selling such a thing, etc.
Yeah, we were just thinking, instead of Professor Vogel walking through the exhibition and waiting for shady people to show up, he would rather contact I like the idea pocket, but I prefer like a shady bookseller, somebody who you know, who wouldn't mind buying or selling stolen books and so forth. So do I make up a NPC? So it's a Polish book antiquarian, I guess, and she is called Kasia Lewandowska, and yeah, she is an expert in old manuscripts, and she's working on the black market.
Okay. Now, I don't think this necessarily falls into calling on a contact. Would you say, Alan? No, just a fictional position.
It's a person I know.
Yeah. If you want to write them down as a potential contact in the future, you know, just to keep track of them, then I'd feel feel free to just add them to that contact list there, and we
I
can
will.
call them in the future. I will, however, I'm going to reserve the right to blow them at some point, just because you've used them for fictional positioning, even if you haven't used them for the role, which I think is not strictly rules as written, but is me wanting to do things with my heat, basically.
As soon as there's an NPC and they are not threatened, I would be disappointed.
I figured as much, Horst. I know I can kill everybody and everything when it comes to you.
Including my character.
Yes. So, Kasha, why don't we do the role? You know, as you
Yes.
go into Kasha's back street, quiet bookshop, you know, in a basement sort of shop somewhere, right? Looking salubrious on the outside, but surprisingly well appointed on the inside, I think.
The role would be the gray one, I guess.
So that'd be the grey one by default.
The expertise with
yeah.
which is inside.
Yes, or I would say, because your corporate is kind of the world of academia, I would say.
Yeah.
So I would allow that as well in this case. And yeah, that would be the two you get. You can always include your stress die. It's almost inevitably going to mean that, no, your stress die would only go up if it was the highest result on your dice. So
I roll the stress die as well. And let's go.
so your stress does go up, but
Yes.
you get 5. And the specific question that you're asking about is like, who might be interested in this manuscript?
Mhm.
Kasha is like, well, darling, you know, it is a wonderful book, you know, so very rare, but it will be so hard to sell. There is only one of a kind. It would be hot the second it went, and from the Met Gala. I mean, you would have to be a fool to go in there. Are all the eyes of the world on the celebration?
Kasha, you know, there must be someone, not to sell it, but to own it.
Well, because it's you, Vogel, baby. And she winks. She says,
He blushes.
you are not the only person who has been asking about this.
Oh.
In fact, just this week, 2 people came, suits. They tried to say that they were just interested buyers, but I can smell a Fed from a mile away. One of them tried the Feds, yes.
Got a name?
They gave me Rook and Rowan. Can you believe that?
Amateurs.
But yes, they were interested. So that means that somebody, if the Feds are interested, then, well, someone must really be interested, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've not gotten involved in anything bad, have you, Vogel?
No, of course not. I'm a completely innocent, and he starts to stutter, and nothing illegal at all.
So I'm going to say that was the answer to your question, basically, right? And I'm going to be generous and allow you to take even the names as not an additional extra, because I don't think they really bring that much fictional extra benefit. So an additional question that you'd like to ask, or I can try and think of something else that Kasha might know to reveal to you.
I mean, what am I supposed to believe here? That the Feds know that something is going on, or that the state or whoever
I will clarify that with it's not something that Kasha reveals to you, right? This is contextual realization based upon like what the future knowledge was brought to you. No one was ever found. No one was ever publicized. No case was ever made publicly. They never made any statements. They never found anybody. The FBI never touched this case at all from the future. So
they're corrupted.
Yeah, it doesn't appear as though the FBI seems to be really looking at getting other thieves, at taking down other thieves. Maybe these people are not FBI agents, really. Kasha seems to think they are, but they're the ones going after the manuscript.
Okay, cool.
And I leave it to your imagination to how someone with an FBI badge and authority might be able to get into a museum without anybody, sounding alarms, noticing, etc. Okay, so that's the end of our investigation scenes. We have a prep scene for Mr. Clark and for Reaper to get to. And I will go with that now. So you need to put a tick on your stress box, Horst. And Mr. Clark, to your preparation scene. You want to get weapons on site.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the food delivery. Let's
food
put it.
delivery.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're not checking the food delivery.
Yeah. So I think some fish or some shellfish, hide it under some ice in one of those sort of like styrofoam containers. Maybe get hold of some sort of like pretty manky, rotting fish actually, so it's never actually taken out. Put some extra fish in there, or just supplement our rotting fish in with the weapons in it. So it shouldn't get looked at, hopefully.
So this sounds almost as though this is also how Mr. Clock is entering the Met Gala exhibition, right? Alongside the delivery of weaponry, the fish. You could either call in a contact to do it for you, or you could disguise yourself and go in, essentially, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'll do the delivery myself.
Yeah, because that also answers the question, the first scene of how are you getting on site into the...
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, would you like to make me that preparation roll?
Certainly will. I will spend my last point of intel to gain back my expertise, because, tradecraft, disguised larceny, this is what I'm here for.
Yeah.
This is like, turning up turbo mode.
Yeah. And I will, if you get a good enough result, I will allow that tradecraft to be that, like, there are weapons discreetly located throughout the museum to those who would know where to find them, right? So they can go like, well, I reach behind the thing and I pull out the knife or whatever, right?
6 and a 3.
Nice. The 6. Well, you mark your intel back again.
Excellent.
And you succeed brilliantly. You get hold of you get your weapons in. So weapons, I will say that anybody on site can increase their load from light to medium by dint of knowing where your weapon, where your gear is, essentially, right? Like where you've stashed it. You can mark up to heavy, and you won't need to make any kind of roll to maintain your cover going in because of this level of
push around like a waiter's trolley.
Yeah.
Sort of classic mafia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
delivering into a room
as the camera goes through the thing, and the guy eating donuts, and cops just nod at you as you go, and one of them goes like, "Oh man, that fish!
It's off.
It's off. I hear that's what these rich folks like, huh? Rotten fish. Can you believe that?
Rotten fish for rotten vegetables. That's what I said.
You got it, buddy. Yeah, you're all right." And he waves you through. So Mr. Clark is on site, and then we cut over to Felicity. What was the prep that you wanted to make?
I wanted to basically scout out how, as an assassin, I would get in and out. Like, make sure there was a car waiting. Just basically setting things up.
Okay. So roll me a prep for, you're not going in. Intrusion, I think, works here.
Okay.
In terms of expertise.
Which I can't use because my expertise is unavailable until stress goes up.
Yeah, or until you spend an intel to restore your expertise.
That's true.
Yes.
So yeah, let's go ahead and roll. So I'll roll like the basic of the gray die as well as stress.
That
there's a
is
4 on expertise, 1 on stress.
Yes, so your stress hasn't gone back up again, so you don't gain your expertise back, but you
That's
do
unfortunate.
get a 4, which means on a do something else, I think would be the move here.
If I may,
4, you succeed with no obvious complication or benefit. So,
so I'm trying to figure out how to get in. What if Paul Giamatti showed up?
and what is Paul Giamatti's role in this?
Well,
You're going to steal his invitation?
I was thinking that him seeing an objectively attractive woman, even if there's like a lot of tattoos, maybe he does a little bit of not street harassment per se, but kind of the eye up and down, and we start chatting and I get an invite.
I'm glad, because I was looking back at the wish that you'd said last session to be part of the gala. And I was thinking, well, you seem to have skipped over that with your preparation scene, which I thought would have been the major one. But I'm very happy for you to be Paul Giamatti's date for the red carpet for the evening. So that is your way in as well.
I mean, it does provide the obvious complication of what the hell do I wear? But
I look forward to the description of that.
yes.
Okay.
And what's the gala's theme this year? Fairy tales?
Fairy tales.
Gotcha.
Strangely. So, does anyone want to spend anyone who's got any intel left? I believe that is just Gilgamesh, I think. No, Gilgamesh and Mr. Clock and Felicity have all got intel. Do you want to spend it asking any questions? That's a no from Mr. Clock. That's a no from, yeah, and Felicity already turned it down. Do you want to frame yourself doing something cool? And remove a complication from me.
No, I'm going to need to do something cool to get in.
Yes, yeah. Okay. Then I think that's
Really
where we're at.
quickly, I'm kind of curious, how quiet do we want this operation to be?
Well, I'm about to blow a small hole in the top of a subway tunnel in order to get into the basement.
Okay, that's kind of still
and,
still quiet.
And then I confidently expect to set some fire suppression systems off in order to facilitate someone doing a smash and grab on that manuscript before Rook and Rowan get there.
Okay, so I take it we are not opposed to the idea of having a loud op. And I can, at some point, perhaps have guns blazing.
Hey, you can always pull a gun.
I'm concerned about the impact on the cultural heritage of New York if you start shooting up celebrities, but needs must sometimes.
I'm glad that you think the culture of New York is celebrities. That
it is at the Met Gala. But in any case, where are you angling for with this bucket?
I think I'll save the intel and just stay quiet, because I was looking at it, it's like, we might need to go out, bail out of this museum guns blazing, but yeah.
Yeah, everyone, so we've had 3 different roles on in and out of the museum, I think, at this point. So
yeah, let's just stick with it.
Yeah. Guns are sort of, the garnish on any operation when it goes wrong, right? They're always there when you want it, but if you don't have it, then you're probably not going to miss them that much. It was success. In any case, that means that we should recap what we know about this so far. Is the manuscript has no additional security beyond the glass case with alarm sensors and the armed guards posted around the museum. The Met Gala has a police detail. You know where the fire suppression system could be triggered from. You know that a couple of feds are the ones who are looking at this manuscript the same way you are, Rook and Rowan. And Mr. Clock has secreted weapons around the Metropolitan Museum. which will be interesting for the school trip the next day. But so what would we say the operational objective is here? Let's go and hear a pitch from Alan. What would you say the operational objective is?
We need to stop Rook and Rowan getting the manuscript.
Stop Rock and Rowan getting the manuscript, not retrieve the manuscript yourself.
If we retrieve it, we will have stopped them getting it.
Yes, yes. So retrieve the manuscript, I think.
But I would rather see it burn than have it fall into their hands.
Interesting. Okay.
That's why I'm going for stop them getting it as my principal objective. That's my pitch.
I imagine this is taking place in that dingy safe room with all of the pictures of the Met and blah, 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 and like...
Burning a book? What is this? Germany 33? We're not burning any books.
Look, Prof, if this book helps the Queen arrive, you do not want it in the world, okay?
It stops the Queen. Gesundheit.
I love that you had a pipe in your hand when you said that as well. That was so good. So I'm hearing a voice of disagreement from Professor Vogel there. So,
strong disagreement.
Yeah. So your operational objective would it be to retrieve the manuscript purely, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, this is the contention between the operatives is a part of the game, so I'd love to hear what Mr. Clock thinks.
I'm going to go with very discreetly retrieve the manuscript.
Discreetly retrieve the manuscript. I like that as an objective.
I have a plan.
You have a plan. It should all go off like clockwork, he says, and then looks very fucking smug. And Felicity, where are you on this?
You know, I had a weird ass professor show up and say my teddy bear's name. I have no idea what's going on. All I know is that there's this book and this weird dude who seems to think this book can stop something from happening in the future, like we're in some kind of goddamn Terminator movie. So
you probably have, just for convenience's sake, say the due clause and the inhuman nature of Mr. Clock evidence to you at some point.
I mean, so it's not like I'm doubting this at this point. I've seen enough. I think if the weird people who seemingly came from the future are saying we need to retrieve this book, that I'm going to listen to them, even though I understand the point of making sure that whoever else is trying to steal it does not get it.
Okay. So,
although for all I know, maybe the people I'm helping are actually the ones who are going to cause the shit show in the future using this book.
Hey, time travel, man. Like,
right?
Yeah. Who even knows if you can change the past? Maybe this all happened and it already never changed anything. We'll find out.
This has all happened before and it will all happen again.
Yeah, maybe. But so I'm hearing, I think overall, Gilgamesh is the minority vote in terms of destroying the book as the operational objective. So I am going to put the operational objective down as retrieving the book. Discreetly is an interesting one, because I would love to place that constraint upon the operators. Discreetly retrieve the book.
God, no. No. Discreetly is a bonus, for God's sake.
I know, but yeah. I will, I think, allow Gilgamesh's argument of, yeah, exactly. Discreet is a bonus. Like, we need to get it no matter what kind of thing. If I have to burn this whole building down, then that's what it'll take. Got to save the world. So let's put the operational down as a retrieve the Grimm manuscript.
Of course,
Correct.
It's Grimm.
Yeah. Everyone good with that? Does that seem all above board? Okay, well then we will take our first break, and then we will do how you get on into the place for Enders and Vogel. Clock can assist with that, I would say, but we will it will still involve some kind of role, because clock during the actual events of the night kind of thing will need to go past somebody else as well, you know, guards, etc., to get it in. But yeah, okay, well, see you guys at 5 past then. Yeah. So we have the operation. We know that Mr. Clock is on site at the Met Gala. It is the evening of the Met Gala. The red carpet is open. You know, this is the time of opportunity, because despite the fact the exhibition goes along with, it's the only time where nobody is going to be there. All eyes will be on outside of the first hour or so, where the celebrities mill about through the exhibition room. They will all be somewhere else, and all the security will be somewhere else, and everything will be focused upon that. And you know that it goes missing after this night. It can't have gone missing during the time when the people were in the room, because it is there in some of the background photos. But at some point during your window of opportunity was when the thieves would have struck. So, you know, the carpets are there, the limousines are pulling up on the road outside Central Park, in front of the Metropolitan Museum. You know, they don't have to park down the block like everybody else. They roll up there. The press are everywhere. You've got the BBC, the CNN. You've got E-Celebrity News interviewing people on the carpet. And people are being greeted by the artistic director of the evening, a Robin, what did I call her? Robin Gutekel, who I will add to the Faces and Places, is greeting people on the carpet, and Paul Giamatti and his date step out onto the red carpet as the cameras go off. You know, Lady Gaga's up front wearing some ridiculous thing. She has come as Grimm's fairy tales. Just literally, she is like basically, you can barely see Lady Gaga inside the massive construct of paper mache book that she is inside of, which has very convincing looking blood dripping down between the pages. And she seems to say it's some sort of statement, but who knows what it could mean. But yeah, behind her, with much less fanfare, is Paul Giamatti and the mysterious tattooed woman that he has come with. So, what are you dressed as, Felicity?
Baba Yaga's hut.
Nice.
It's a bit difficult to get out of the limousine, and it actually throws me somewhat off balance, because, well, the chicken legs are just on this red dress that I'm wearing. Actually, step that. It's a sheer dress with basically the equivalent of pasties over the bits that people might get offended by seeing. So the dress is basically the chicken legs for the hut.
And the hut is an elaborate hat. Is that right?
Well, my head certainly supports part of it, as do my shoulders, but the hut also extends forward and behind me.
Nice.
So it's basically about 6 feet or so from front to back, and a couple feet wide, about as wide as my shoulders. But you know,
Paul Giamatti keeps ducking out of the way every time you turn. Like
he's quite short, isn't he?
Yeah,
well,
but it's the shadow coming over him. You can't help it. He keeps laughing nervously and going like, oh.
And you know, luckily I'm wearing heels, so you know, it may be a reflex for him to duck, but he doesn't necessarily need to. I am certain the next day, if not right now, if it's not already happening, I am going to be roasted for what I'm wearing, because it is definitely a choice, but it's not a particularly good fashion choice. It's not a good look.
And what load are you going in as? Because I would suggest, well, the obvious.
This. Yeah.
Heavy with this? Okay, because you do still have to go you know, as you come in and you go past the red carpet and they take all the pictures and everything, you come up to the front, and the sheer size of it, a man in a security guard uniform comes up and goes, yeah, and he goes, oh, I'm real sorry, Mr. Giamatti, and I'm sorry to your lovely date. You know, I loved you in Sideways. You know, it really gave me a taste for wine. I can, but I just gotta give this a quick check. You know, anything that's so big, this big. I mean, they could have Semtex in here. Could you imagine? And he's got a wand, and he's got one of those chemical like sensor things as well. And he's going to be waving that around. So, roll. Maintain your cover.
Alrighty, so I will add the stress die on this. 5 on the stress die.
5 on the stress die.
That means stress goes up, right?
It does mean stress goes up, yes.
Awesome.
So you get your expertise back. But your cover holds. And I think it does start to beep. But, you know, Paul Giamatti says, I mean, look at that thing. You look at that thing. You see, it's got so much stuff in it. I can't remember what Paul Giamatti sounds like, but of course it's got metal in. If you seen it, otherwise it would fall to pieces.
I apologize, and I say they had to do some lightweight aluminum framing to keep so that this thing would actually stay. Its structural integrity would stay. And I point to some bits of metal where you can like kind of look into the hut, and you can see the framework here.
Yeah, I am coming over as Steve Buscemi, yeah. There's the eyes. They both have similar eyes, right? Like, but yeah. So, yeah, you wave through, and he whistles and goes, wow, what a strong lady. I mean, carrying that on your shoulders. I mean, wow, just wow.
And I wink at him and say, come find me later. I'll arm wrestle you.
And Paul Giamatti stares daggers at the security guard as he like tries to drag you away. We are now over to Professor Vogel.
Can I have a flashback scene of us in the safe house actually discussing a plan? Because we've got 4 headless chickens running around here, and we'll never get to the future with just 4 people doing 4 things.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the gimmick is that I expect players to try and work towards that themselves so much, but yes, I understand you. I appreciate your point, Paul. So we flash back to the safe house. Felicity has clearly decided to go in on the floor, have a, you know, get eyes on in public in the space, because she is so far the only one of you with a valid reason to be walking around on the floor. Mr. Clock can be in the back rooms, but if you are wandering around in the gala floor as a fish delivery man / chef, you're going to be running into trouble pretty quickly, right? And the other 2, who knows? So, Mr. Clock, take it away.
Okay, here's my elevator pitch. Get you 2 in, stinky fish getting outside, get you in through the door. If we need to do some wet work, so be it, because we've got guns with the fish.
Too quick. Hang on. How do you connect those 2 to the fish? Which 2 to the fish?
The stinky fish. I've got guns with the stinky fish.
Okay, and you've stowed those around the Met.
Yeah. So if while I'm getting you in through the door, something happens, we've got guns, wet work, call an end to that. Get in building. Let's insert Professor Vogel with the large tomb, which he has a multitude of. It's load, blah, 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 blah. Swap said tomb with the tomb we want. Let somebody steal Professor Vogel's tomb while we have the real thing.
Yeah, I need to check here. We are talking tome. Big book.
Yeah.
That's
I
fine.
suddenly had a vision of him, you know,
sarcophagus smuggling.
Smuggling.
Yeah.
And then we use your underground exit to get out. If we want to cause some distraction with the fire system, so be it. That's my pitch. Anybody else got a pitch? Go ahead. I'm all ears.
Yeah, I want to be on site before the gala proper starts. So I will want to flashback to 40 minutes before we saw Felicity entering, to blow a hole from the subway into the basement and work my way up.
Okay, and certainly Mr. Clock can be in a position to have opened that door when you get in, you know,
and I was going to offer Professor Vogel the opportunity to come in the back way with me, or he can go in under the fish trolley.
I despise smelly fish, so I will go with you.
Yeah, to know, I think a full human being in the fish trolley is a little bit too far, but Mr. Clock's thing was that he would open a door and you would deal with whichever guards were on said door,
Okay.
a messy way if need be. But
and,
yes.
And I quite like the idea of Professor Vogel calling on an antique, it might be Kasha as a contact this time, to have a convincing copy of the manuscript, and we're looking for to switch it. We get the real one, we leave Rook and Rowan to take the false one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, we just need the cover more or less, and the same thickness. Doesn't have to. The inside is almost, you know,
that should be a neat surprise when they open it. So I like the idea of, you know, whatever manuscript form this is it a big old book or whatever that Professor Vogel brings in?
I raised you one, which is, I don't know if that would be done with a flashback scene, but what if we put a tracker inside?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah. If you want to put a tracker inside, then I'm going to require you to call on the contact. If you just want a dummy version of the book, I'll let you have that for free as just an item that you have to carry, you know, mark 1 to carry it, basically.
I mean, I could call in a contact or somebody else with the expertise.
If you have the copy, I've got the technical skills to put the tracker in it.
Yeah, I'd let you just say that this is, you know, Kasha can provide you with a copy that's good enough to keep a bug in it without ruining the book, basically. Like she will forge it together for you. So if you'd like to call in on her as a thing, you can add yourself a item of, you know, bugged manuscript, let's say.
We'll do so.
I thought maybe a good cover, it's only a suggestion, Professor Vogel, maybe you can actually be an authoritative figure telling guests all about the book as they walk by. You know, if you want a reason to be there, I just thought of that. Run with it if you want. If not,
that is a great idea. If that is covered by, you know, if that is cool.
That's a lie that you can tell once you get on scene. If anyone asks why you're there.
Yeah. So I will just dress as Professor Vogel.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you are museum staff essentially, right?
Michael will suggest some overalls over the top of that, Doctor. It may get dusty before we get in.
I will think about it.
Okay, so you two need to declare your load before you go in.
I just want to be clear then. So we're going to get on site. Clock is going to help get Vogel above ground. I'm going to look at how I could actively set off some kind of distraction when the time comes. And Felicity is there to shoot people if it comes to it.
Yes.
And be a walking distraction.
Broadly the picture. And be a walking distraction. Yeah.
I mean, you can't miss me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm slightly worried about that when they come to look at, when the police come to look at the CCTV on this. But
I'm slightly worried when somebody taller than Paul Giamatti is behind me and I turn around.
Okay, so
I would like to seek relief from the stress by seeking solace in a relationship.
Yeah,
I would like to put my daughter here as a dancer.
As a dancer, as
As
part
a
of the
dancer
Midsummer Night's Dream.
In a Midsummer's Night Dream musical.
Yeah. Oh, Daddy, I got such big, you know, it's working with Lin-Manuel Miranda. Can you believe it?
She doesn't know I'm a father, though, does she?
No, but that's what she's saying to present day.
To the present day.
Yeah. And maybe that, so that's so the seek solace in a relationship. Comes under confront and relief tab now. Seek solace in a relationship. So roll the dice. And I think that tells us something about what do they do, right? That they are a dancer, that they are, you know, dancer enough to perform in Lin-Manuel Miranda's, and she's young, late teens, I think we said, right?
Yeah, late teens. So
yeah.
with-
So she must be something special to be, like a gifted dancer.
yeah,
Probably.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe she goes to Fame. I don't actually know what that's called, but there is somewhere where Fame is done.
I hear they're going to live forever, but yeah. Yeah.
So I rolled a 2 on the dice.
Mhm.
2. It's quite an easy one. This one, basically, I didn't roll a 6, so I don't get an extra point of stress off. But you can now move them to the target list.
They are on the target list, as they are there in the crowd of in the backstage areas, essentially. And what was her name again? Sorry, it was Martha.
In this timeline, it is a Martha Würtenberger.
Yeah, I mean, she always was Martha Würtenberger. She just changed her name to Martha Nielsen in the future when she got married. Yeah. So, okay, I like that. I had so many ideas for how Martha could be put in trouble over the course of it. I'm glad that you've immediately jumped into doing it yourself. So, Professor Vogel, Gilgamesh, if you'd like to choose your load, Professor, remember that I'm going to say that one character can find the stash of weapons around. It's a one-time thing to move your load around. You essentially can bump up your starting load to a heavy if you're on medium, or from light to medium by finding whatever Mr. Clark has stashed around the thing. It is a Chekhov's stash, basically, like Schrodinger's stash, let's say.
So there's no need to do that now. You declare what you want, and then if you want more,
then we can cash that in, basically. Yeah.
I do understand. I played Blades in the Dark.
No. Yeah,
I have a question though about the book. I mean, the book is obviously thick and counts as one thing within the load, I guess.
Yes.
Where do I write it down?
Just underneath your load, you just tick light load.
Light
so
load
what you've got is ticked, and then you just write it in one of those boxes there.
Oh, I can write in them. Okay.
Yeah. They're drop downs, but you can always just write whatever you want in there.
Cool.
And like the pre-existing ones have like a square in to be how much, but I just sometimes just put a number in to say how much it would cost, and then I just tick the appropriate box above. So you would tick the gearbox as well, because you've used one of your load to have that replica of the original Grimm's manuscript with a tracker inside. Okay, so down we see Mr. Clock, slip round a corner, look over to a door, and just leave it slightly ajar, right? And then step back down, and then the camera pans, down through the stairs, through the things, into the basement level, where we see Gilgamesh and Professor Vogel wearing his nice tweed elbowed jacket beneath a pair of coveralls. And Gilgamesh, walk us through how you're getting in. You're muted.
Yeah, I'm going to have to declare tech equipment and explosives. I've gone with a medium load because I know I'm going to need a tech toolkit at some point, and I also need C4 and a detonator to blow a hole in the subway roof or basement floor, depending on which way you look at it. So I think, what we're seeing is, I'm just wondering. Yeah, I think that we probably see. I'm just trying to see. Did I ever write head torch in here? Flashlight or head torch? There we go. So I think we see head torch bobbing up this darkened, abandoned subway tunnel, and then finding the right position, and setting a ring of breaching charge in the ceiling.
Let's see that roll.
Okay, so I think this is technical.
Yeah.
So my expertise is available. I will put the stress dice in, and then kind of have to. Okay, Prof, we need to go back now. Okay, count to 50 as we walk. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, and then. And that is a 4.
There's a
Not on
4,
a stress dice.
which no obvious complication or benefit. So it, and it is loud, but from the very, from the upper floors of the Met Museum, it doesn't even register over the noises of everything else around, like the sound.
It's time to go off for the pre-gala firework display.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah.
Vogel will, cough and remove the dust from the overall and says, "Thank you, Mr. Anders, of reminding me to wear the overall."
Yes, never a bad idea, Doc.
Professor, if you may.
Yeah. Okay, Doc.
There is a slight difference.
Okay.
And then I think probably, make a cup with the hands and hoist him through the.
And you guys push through. So, Mr. Clock, Gilgamesh, and Vogel meet in this stairwell. They can pull the door to as a functionary goes walking around. You see a group of waiters go past. They are bringing out the vol-au-vents to the exhibition room. Now the guests are currently milling around there. Felicity, you standing with your date Paul Giamatti inside the exhibition room, and all around you there are the manuscripts. You can see that there is a security guard posted on one end of the room, and there is the artistic director Robin Gutekerl comes up to you, and she says, "Why, darling, I love your outfit."
Thank you. It's
Baba Yaga,
indeed.
so brave.
It was certainly a difficult decision to make, but I when I saw how the designer had structured the hut, I felt like I couldn't say no.
Roll to maintain your cover, please.
Sure
okay.
thing.
Having marked heavy, I'm going to do that every single time anyone talks to you because it's
Okay.
it's a lot.
Do I get to use my expertise this time?
What expertise do you think is relevant here?
I'm an assassin. I know how to conceal weapons.
No. Not when you're carrying a heavy load into. If that would work for medium with a gun strapped underneath your bra or something, but a Baba Yaga hut on top of your head that's packed with who knows what, it's definitely not an assassin's
I mean,
thing.
I would actually argue that because of the hut and how just gigantic it is and bulky, that it's probably easier to hide some. Yeah, but I'm also all but naked except for strategically placed bits of heavier fabric.
Oh yes,
with
Robin.
the bodysuit.
You notice that Robin Gutekerl is very much aware of your body and gives you a lascivious smile, but is very focused on that. She says, "Fascinating. It doesn't look quite like the real thing." But
excuse me.
Roll to maintain your cover, please, Puckett.
2 5s.
2 5s.
Do I roll to see if stress goes up since it's tied?
No, just goes up if it's tied.
Equal to or greater than.
Yeah, equal to or greater than in this instance. So it just goes
stress
up
goes up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think makes sense that stress goes up for that, right? It occurs to me I didn't get Paul to roll a stress when he rolled a 6 earlier, but I'll leave that one.
And I'll reach out and I'll kind of brush my hand against her arm and say, "You say there's a real one. I'd very much like to see it." And I'll, with my other hand, I'll take Paul Giamatti's hand in mine so that, it's pretty clear that I'm inviting him along.
Oh, well, just look around the exhibition. Ask Professor Angelos Carter over there. She can help you out. She's the curator of this exhibit, I'm just here for the pomp, the circumstance, the fashion. As the bard says, full of sound and fury, very little substance. That's me, darling.
You certainly don't look like a tale told by an idiot.
Hmm. Well, rather. But I'm taking up too much of your time, and you are taking up far too much of mine. Maybe you'll
Do
see the
come
real
see me.
thing one time, sooner or later. But please enjoy. And she swoops over and picks up a tray of these vol au vents that are crafted in the shape of Baba Yaga's hut. They are like little. I think there's chicken in there somewhere, but like a pastry shaped in the shape of a hut, right? And then these sort of like delicate kind of like almost like fondant-y style legs, but it all goes really well together or something. It looks ridiculous.
I mean,
Paul Giamatti
chicken.
has already got two inside of his mouth. You know?
Yeah, chicken is probably the appropriate meat for that.
Yeah.
But I'll just kind of brush his shoulder and say, Paul, could we go see the hut? They said they said we should talk to this professor.
Yeah, sure. Hey, you want one? You gotta try, seriously.
I'm a vegetarian.
Oh, I think they got vegan ones. And a little waiter comes scurrying over dressed as one of the Lost Boys. They seem to have confused fairy tales a little bit here. And holds up a tray with Baba Yaga's green hut. You know?
And I will smile and delicately take one, trying to maintain my balance with this thing.
He winks, looks up at your hut and smiles, and then scurries back off, handing over as he is called over to serve Tom Cruise and Salma Hayek over in a corner.
Tom Cruise could fit under the hut. Salma Hayek, not so much.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm just gonna. This is your last chance to talk. So we're gonna finish with the exhibition part, and the rest of the team will have an opening as you go off. So when you go to Angelos Carter, professor of fairy tales, what do you ask her?
I'm told Robin said there was a real Baba Yaga's hut, and said that my attire tonight was close.
A real Baba Yaga's hut? I mean, well, folklore is based on truth, but real? No, I'm afraid I don't know what you mean, dear.
You know, I'd like to see if I can figure out whether she's lying.
Roll investigate.
All right. And so gray die, and I can add the stress die.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There we go. Now we're starting to roll sixes.
Okay.
So stress goes up automatically, yes?
Mm-hmm. Stress goes up automatically because it's your highest one. We don't have to do the roll for stress because of
The 5. You're walking the
5.
bloody edge.
You get an intel.
Well, I'm going to actually trade that intel in immediately to lower my stress.
Mm-hmm. Good call. And you are investigating Angelos Carter. Appears to be, she reels off about the legends of Baba Yaga's hut and the things and where it was believed to be come from and original things. But the idea of there being a real one, well, no, she doesn't believe in these are just fairy tales, darling.
And so, as near as I can tell, she's telling the truth.
She is telling the truth. However, you notice that Robin Gutikel is very diligently, and this is the extra benefit I'm going to offer you. Robin Gutikel is very diligently making sure that everybody is having their fill of the treats from the restaurant. It seems, in fact, to be her priority. Whenever there's an empty plate or an empty hand, she clicks, and one of these waiters come over. And no one's really paying attention to the staff here. They all look very, very, very similar to each other.
So I'm assuming we all have some sort of comms. Correct?
Yes, you do. Yes. And, that is the moment, I think, when your stomach rumbles and then the announcement comes over the tannoy. The music starts to play and they say, ladies, and Robin Gutikel claps her hands and says, ladies and gentlemen, please grab whatever you're eating. Make sure you bring plenty through. There'll be another meal served in the main room, but it is time for the main event. Okay, well, let's see. Oh, wow. I love what you've done there. My man goes immediately blank. I love what you've done there, Billy. Billie Eilish walks past in like a goth-themed version of Snow White. But it's time for the main event now. Come on, shoot. Let's leave out Professor Carter to their dusty books and tomes. I hope you've all enjoyed.
At this point, I want to suddenly hold my stomach and say, Paul, I'm sorry, I'm suddenly not feeling well. Could you help me find a bathroom?
Well, you are bustled out of the exhibition room for sure, but you can definitely find a bathroom on the way there, one of these green rooms.
Gotcha.
Paul will be by your side the entire time. He's a gentleman.
I mean, presumably not in the actual bathroom, but
hey, that's what he's hoping for apparently. But we cut over to the crew. And Reaper, of course, sees a security guard pulling the rope across the exhibition and taking up a position outside the door as they go out. We cut over to the crew.
You two switch the books. I'll go and prep the distraction. Okay, when the fire alarm goes off, that's your window.
Okay.
Clock, don't let the doctor get killed, okay?
It is my priority.
We owe his son that much.
Indeed. He will survive.
Professor Vogel looks very, very worried.
Discreet, Professor. Discreet. If we do our job, we will just walk out of here.
You have to understand, Mr. Clock, this is not where I feel home.
In a museum.
Think of the book.
It is a museum that we infiltrate.
Think of the manuscript, unpublished. What wonders does it hold?
Secrets.
Indeed.
Knowledge.
So, Gilgamesh slips off towards a suitable, maintenance room or something, right? Like close to the fiction enough that he could get back if need be, but far enough away that he's not present in the scene. And you guys make your way towards, via these back rooms towards, you can step out onto the now empty halls of the museum. And I think this is just going to be a simple maintain your cover roll from one of you to to slip past without it drawing any attention from any of the sort of kind of passers-by or whatever, right? You could use infiltration if you have that to do it this completely, not even see them. But
well, I haven't got infiltration, but the professor does have persuasion, so maybe we don't mind getting spotted. Maybe.
I mean,
that is
all. It's a good idea because the professor, I can't see Professor Vogel trying to be stealthy. He's trying to be the expert explaining the,
So given that you're not
exhibit.
Prowling your way through the museum, Mission Impossible style, you are effectively just trying to walk discreetly there.
Trying to blend in as what I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. And then, with a cook next to you, apparently. Unless the cook spends a disguise kit from their inventory and dresses themselves up as something else.
Yeah, let's go with a reversible cook's jacket. On the inside, it's black sleeves instead. So now I look like more of a member of security. Turning the trousers and the jacket inside out. The neck chief turns into something else. So let's fill up some gear.
And I think that then the person that you will run into as you approach the exhibition is Professor Angelos Carter walking down the corridor. And I think that Professor Angelos Carter is perhaps familiar with you. And I am going to declare the first of my complications, which is somebody there knows you. Right? What's that one called? It is called Don't I Know You? Someone on site has history of one of the operators. So you move in the same circles. Professor Angelos Carter, famous for publishing a collection of, world-renowned fairy tales from all over the world, some series of sort of, adult kind of dark fantasies, very literary regarded, but is more seen publicly as an author rather than a academic, unlike you. And how would you describe your relationship?
I don't think that we have like a very close relationship. We have definitely met each other in the circles of academia, where if she's more of an author, she's maybe a little more on the outside within academia. Is that fair to say?
Yes, but she's definitely much more popular than most academics.
Yes.
who wish to basically be the moth close to her light,
But Vogel doesn't have that impulse, so he probably looks a little bit down to the sellout, the people who don't do the real work. So I could see like a slight rivalry, at least from his perspective. I'm not sure if she really takes him seriously.
Yes, and I just remembered that I called her Angelos because I was supposed to gender shift this, but in fact it's just Angela Carter now. That's just
Angela Carter.
Yes.
Okay.
The reference now I think dropping for some people. So she just a coincidence, the name. So she why is that
this is the
Vogel?
Professor
Hans?
Carter.
Why?
So nice to see you. I didn't know that you were here.
I didn't think that you would have an invite. Nobody
told me that I needed an. I'm not attending the the show, so to speak. I'm not. I'm above these flittery things and the glamour. I'm here to study the serious exhibition.
Roll maintain your cover, and you can use your persuasion or your corporate, I think, here to.
So let's see. Roll with me. I have the gray one. I do the expertise, and I roll the stress. That is a 5, but also the stress goes up.
Stress goes up. But on a 5 of maintain your cover holds. And she says, well, I suppose, well, I think I was mainly there because some of the people there had read my books. You know how it is. Semi-celebrity pales in comparison to the rest, right? Easy come, easy go. But it's really fascinating stuff in there. You should really check out that manuscript. So unique. And the stories in there, wow. But I'm glad they got you on backup. They got you on backup, right?
Backup.
Fill in the detail. Well, yes. I mean, of course, I was there for the evening with the important people.
Yes.
You must be there for the private event later on. For the academic types and the funders and the patrons.
I wonder when you find the time to do the serious work, when you spend so much time with the celebrities and writing these popular books.
Well, Hans, it's just my magic. And she smiles at you and says, it is no, but I must be going. There's a place for me over at the table. I'll be sitting next to Puckett, hit me with a celebrity.
You mentioned Tom Cruise earlier.
Yeah, I'll be sitting next to Tom Cruise. I think we're going to be across the table from George Clooney and his lovely wife. She's a humanitarian lawyer. That's where I find the time in between those kind of events. But do enjoy your books and the dusty libraries and NYU. But you won't be going in there. I don't know if they told you. They're doing this on lockdown. The security guard wouldn't let me stay there and tidy things up. He ushered me out.
Well, you enjoy your talks.
Bye.
Bye. That was very catty, and Vogel is annoyed by her.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's why your stress went up, right?
Yeah, and he grumbles into his beard to Mr. Clock. Stupid, shallow person.
As you approach,
Mr. Clock's on mute.
Very shallow indeed. A tedious person. A tedious person indeed.
as you approach, Mr. Clock, you note that there is no security guard on the door anymore. The rope is still there. The exhibition seems to stand empty and quiet.
Is the door shut to us leading in?
It's like a like an open space. Like there's no
Oh, an
doors
open
across
space,
the things.
yeah,
Like
just with a coiled rope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was, from Reaper that there was as you left, she says one guard on the door kind of thing. That there was a guard there, and Mrs. Carter certainly was ushered out by said security guard, was not allowed in that room, but he seems to have taken a break or something now. It's empty.
Okay. I shall mention that to Gilgamesh and say, just in case you are into their network systems, you may want to look at their CCTV if you are there. If not, we shall proceed onwards.
If I have that option, it would seem sensible. I mean, do you want me to, I don't know, maintain my cover to get somewhere?
I'll allow you just to do a technical roll to get into the system, because I think you stayed to the back rooms, the things.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I will have you maintain your cover to be part of the not to be flagged by anyone, because
it must be said, I have no disguise worth talking about.
No, you are just a guy randomly walking around the back areas of the
in
Met Gala.
overalls.
Yeah.
In dusty overalls. So yeah, let me roll to maintain my cover, because I don't do that often.
I'd let you use authority for that.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. If somebody confronts me, it's don't talk to me about where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be where the shit goes down. How do you don't get this dusty?
Where am I supposed to be? Where do you think I've been?
Yeah. And I think I will include my stress dice because it's worked for me so far. Oh, the worst of all possible worlds. A failure with 2 on the stress dice. So stress goes up by 1.
On the stress dice. Stress goes up by 1. Now, do you want to call on your...
Heat goes up by 1.
Oh, heat goes up by 1. Lovely. Now, I will remind you...
I got that wrong. Heat goes up by 1. Stress doesn't go up by 1. You tell me how this goes wrong, or you read the move.
Stress not go up by 1 because you rolled your stress as the highest dice.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Of course it does. Well remembered. Well pointed out. Yes. That's why it's the worst of all possible worlds. On a 1 to 3, you're blown. Choose to either get caught or mark heat and flee for your life.
So I don't need to mark heat. It's up to you whether or not some guy, a pair of security guards walk around the corner just as you're going, and they look at each other and they go, "Hey, buddy." And I offer you now, remember that you have the contact future knowledge, which allows you to re-roll like a contact. So, you could tell me something about how, the knowledge of the future events helps you out here.
Okay. I will tell you that I know.
You could say something like, just to give an example, right? Because I feel like, but you could say it's something, for example, as like, that at 10 past the hour tonight, that the security teams are occupied because somebody tries to jump the red carpet, like we did in remember when we ran Fate of Cthulhu, when we did that operation again, the convention. So it's like we can all just frame it around like specific times about this particular thing, because you have uncovered some of these particular things in the future.
Okay. So I will re-roll all 3 dice then.
I mark your stress.
I can't remember. Yeah, exactly. So I can't remember. Do I now not mark the stress?
No, you do mark the stress
for
the
that's right.
for the failure.
I couldn't remember how I wrote it.
You take the consequences from the first roll before you then re-roll
that turns into a 5 with the stress dice.
Well, nice. Actually, no. Does your stress go up? I suppose it doesn't go up actually because you dispended it, so you can keep it just where it was after the
Okay.
fail. Yeah.
It does. It stays there if I use my specialism to.
Yes. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. But yeah. So you make it through, no complication or whatever, right? The
I think
guys
that
would have seen you.
there's a point where we see Michael going down a corridor, and we can see the security coming from the other corridor, and then they stop, check their watches, and say, "Okay, there's here. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
okay, we're
checking
on our
your
way,
watch.
on our
You're
way."
checking your watch, and
Yeah.
you're like, and they're walking towards you. You can hear the footsteps getting closer and closer and closer. And then outside, some like crazed fanboy rushes through the thing, and then we have like a stampede of people trying to get onto the red carpet, and the security guards immediately peel away from you, and you are through. So you are in position. Do you want to make a technical roll? You're muted.
Oh, yes, I do. And I might be getting close to the edge on. Oh no, that's not so bad. I will use technical and include my stress dice to see if I can tap into, because it would be helpful if I knew where the team were before I pressed the button. So this would, I think I'm tapping into the CCTV. Yeah.
Yeah.
A 6 and not on the stress dice. I'll take that.
Nice. So, a 6 and not on the stress dice. So, Mark Intel.
Do you want? I mean, we should have decided. Was that rolling to investigate to see what I could see?
Yeah. What is in the exhibition room if there's like the opposition, because for some reason the security left?
Okay.
Yeah. So that's an investigate, I think. There. Let's say that.
That makes sense. So what? Give me what I need to proceed. Are Rook and Rowan in there?
Rook and Rowan are not in there. Rook and Rowan are rapidly approaching.
Okay.
And Rook and Rowan are now going to be in the Faces and Places tab.
Oh, sorry, I added them.
Oh, that's fine. That's what you thought they looked like.
Exactly. Now you can tell me what they actually look like.
Yep. I wonder if you recognize Agent Rook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course it is. I realized.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I knew that stuck for some reason.
Yeah, it's Jimmy Rook, isn't it? It's the code name that I try to use for everything.
Yeah.
So they are rapidly approaching. They seem to have been. You can see on the security cameras that effectively they have been given a clear run from one side of the building all the way through to the other. Security guards, police officers, everybody just parted way. No one seeing them. You know, they don't. But that's the point, right? Is this going off now? On a 6, you get additional as you're going through the security footage. I think, you know, like I'm imagine. How do you imagine you're like you've spiced in like a phone maybe or a you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think I'm just. I've clipped some wires. Some 10 years in the future. Just clipping into the video feeds. Just plugging in a phone and just kind of skimming through
different
cameras.
Feeds. Yeah, and what you get is that, and you also get the kitchens. Now you're watching and it just seems absolutely normal, right? Just people bustling around. There's those waiters. They all look very similar. It's a bit odd, but then the camera flickers for a second, and the pots that they are preparing things from and everything, it just flickers, and you see it is a pot of bones and stew and mush, and the waiters go from being small little men dressed as Peter Pan to hunched goblinish figures.
Clock. We've got some freaks on site.
Roger that, Gilgamesh. Roger that. We will do what we need to do and get out of here. Thanks for the intel.
Rook and Rowan coming to your position. You have a very narrow window.
We'll act on it now. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Ennis, can't you activate the distraction now?
That's what because that's what I rolled for. No, that was to look in. That was to get into the system, wasn't it? So yeah, I now need to kind of just.
Is that the moment you're going to hit the suppression?
I think so. And I'm just trying to think, where do I want to hit the suppression first? I want to hit the suppression in the room that Rook and Rowan are going to enter. I want to draw attention to that room.
Okay, they're about to cross through sort of like one of the side rooms to the
then no, I'm too late.
No, okay, then let's say that they are on the corridors walking. You know, you can essentially try and hit that suppression system in the corridor that they're walking up, you know?
Yeah. Because the objective is to try and draw attention to that and slow them down.
Yeah, okay. So let's see that technical roll.
Roll to do something else?
Yeah, roll to do something else.
Yeah, let's take a risk with the stress dice. Oh, 6, not on a stress dice.
6.
Ooh,
Okay,
Intel roaring up.
Intel roaring up. So I think that the thing that's going to, you get to roll the Intel, the extra benefit that you want from this. So you are going to delay them.
I am going to delay them, expand the window that Clock and Vogel have. And well, that delay was the objective. So I get the delay. I'd like the extra benefit to be that security is attracted to their location.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then shall I roll for stress?
Yeah, roll for stress. Only a
3 versus 3. No, it doesn't.
No
go
change. Up. Nothing goes up. I think that we will then cut as, you know, to maybe take our last break, come back at 5 past, and we will finish as Rook and Rowan are walking to the things. Then they go.
And I just want to leave it with Rigpa. Corridor B approaching hall, the Egyptian hall. Rook and Rowan.
Okay.
Okay. See you guys at 5 past. So the fire alarms go off, the security guards, you see them all move around on the CCTV. They were all rushing to the corridor. Clock, Vogel, it is a moment to shine. Over in the green room, the toilets that you are in, Paul Giamatti is knocking on the door and going like, honey, you okay in there? I mean, maybe that hat's too much for you, huh?
And I double checked lines and veils, and I'm not going to go into great detail, but having realized what's actually going on, I've got a finger down my throat, and that stuff is getting out of my system.
Let's roll to do something else.
Okay. Is this something you think might use my expertise?
No.
Okay. 2 dice. Highest die is 4, and that's gray. Stress is 3.
Okay. You make yourself throw up the remains. Paul Giamatti is like, oh, I can hear you. Oh dear. I mean, they're really good, you know. I feel fine.
Polly, there was chicken in mine, and it's not good chicken. It's bad.
Well, I feel fine.
You feel fine right now, and at this point, I'm just going to do that little bit of psychological tampering. Like, don't you feel just a little bit flushed?
Now, my question to you is, do you want to put our roll on the line to try and spare Paul Giamatti the Fey food?
Absolutely. And not only that, I want to convince him to go tell everyone else that the chicken is tainted.
Cool. Okay.
So gray and stress, I don't see any way that my expertise fits in here.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, I mean, nah, the closest thing I could argue is larceny, and I don't think so.
No. Just let's see that roll. See how many celebrities you managed to spare. What's that?
1 and 1.
1 and 1. Oh dear.
Stress goes up.
Risk.
I'm
Heat
going
goes
to
up.
I'm going to spend my intel to avoid the stress increase.
So I may offer you. We also mark heat. I think that you fail basically here. That Paul Giamatti, listens to you. Did you say this as you open the door, right, with vomit like staining your things, and he looks in at you and he's like, okay, they told me not to invite fans to these things, but God, they just like tattoos. Oh God, Paul, you've done it again. Oh, he just walks off, like leaving you behind, like in the corridor. Listen, if anyone asks, you weren't with me, okay? You weren't with me.
And at this point, I'll just shrug, dump the whole hat thing, and pull out the gear that was inside it.
Well, that's where we cut away from you as he wanders off down the corridor, and you go,
Yeah.
huh? And then I think
I'm
you
pulling
put,
on
like,
my
a boot.
tack bulletproof vest.
Yeah, you
type
put
stuff.
a boot through the side of your paper mache thing, right? Like a Baba Yaga's hat, and you pull out, like we see you pulling out something from there. Cool. Okay, we cut over to the exhibition. Empty room. You know that Rook and Rowan are being detained. Gilgamesh give you an update that the security guards have swarmed the corridor and they are like talking to them, arguing. You can see them pulling out a badge, detailing it all. There's this exhibition there, a glass case, the manuscript. What do you do?
Vogel takes out the book, looks over to Mr. Clock. Anything I have to be aware of, like alarms?
Just let me do my work, Professor. The fingers will go into action, start whirring and sort of tumbling as I cut the glass, sort of a section of the glass, very microfine cut with this sort of glass, with this diamond sort of fingernail that sort of extends. So I would like to roll larceny to try and steal.
Larceny. I like it, and I like that it's involving your crafting hands as well, right?
Crafting hands.
Yeah. Professor Vogel, do you think you've seen his crafting hands before?
I don't think so.
Roll for stress, please, Professor Vogel.
What's the thing? Stress is a 4, and I think that is indeed my stress.
So if it's a tie, it doesn't go up.
It doesn't go up.
No, if it's
it is not a tie.
Okay,
no,
so it goes up then, yeah. I am just to say, I know it's not in the rules. I have debated this, but I am going to introduce a bit more of the Project Art Prometheus roll for stress when something weird fucking happens, kind of stuff.
And I think it makes sense. I think there's Vogel looks at the hands with a mixture of disgust and fascination, and he says, Mr. Clock, did you pick up that Angela said, "It's my magic"? Is that a slip of the tongue?
It could be viewed as magic or science. Who knows, Professor? And maybe at that stage, the sort of moonlight that's coming in through the
skylight.
Sort of skylight catches his sort of facial wood. And this is where you probably do realise that I've sort of always been able to pass for human, but now you sort of see that the true horror is clearly you as you are stressed of what Mr. Clock is.
Yeah, I like it. Let's hear that. Let's that licensee roll.
Okay, so we've got a grey dice, we've got an expertise dice, and I think at this stage, let's have the stress dice as well. Let's see what we get. We have a 5 on expertise, higher than stress. Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Nice. You managed to disable the alarms, get the hidden latch on the case, pop it open discreetly and smoothly. As you're exchanging the books, Gilgamesh, your focus is on the CCTV footage from there, right? But you flick back and you can see a camera that is in the backstage eaves, for the theatre. And there are a row of dancers lined up along a corridor waiting to go onto stage. And a waiter bringing food down. And a girl stands at one end of the line. She looks a lot like the picture that Thaddeus used to carry with him in the future. Do you tell Thaddeus?
No. Instead, I'd like to spend stress to call on a contact, a technical contact, please, who this technical contact, let me think, is called...
I mean, Reaper's at a loose end, effectively, unless she's going to go in
No,
and intercept
I need a bigger solution than that at the moment.
Okay.
Once I think that Vogel and Clock have got the book, yeah, I want to call on a Sparks called Michelle. We flash back to Michelle in the basement where we came in, running a hose down to the hole in the subway ceiling to a large canister of what Michelle assures me is vomit gas.
Nice. Okay. Roll to do something else with the expertise of this to try and gas the Met Gala through the air exchange system.
Okay, here we go. With stress.
Mm-hmm.
That is a 6, and it is not on the stress dice.
Nice.
And at this point, I'm hoping that everyone has enough gear left to declare a rebreather or gas mask.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I still have 2 left. Let's see.
I know I've got 1 left.
And despite your nature, I think that you are enough of a simulacrum of a working man for this gas to have an effect on you, Mr. Clock. So,
yeah, I shall declare the the bit of equipment rebreather.
Cool. And I will. What would you like the extra benefit to be, Alan? You're muted. You just muted yourself rather than unmute yourself.
I beg your pardon. I want this to also affect Rook and Rowan.
Rook and Rowan. Now it affects Rook and Rowan. It affects that entire corridor of security guards who all start to.
Yeah.
Rowan goes down to her knees, vomiting. Rook.
What's his name? Juan Manuel is bent over.
Lin-Manuel goes, and this is our across the whole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bottom is throwing up inside his head.
Yeah. Strangely, the waiters
aren't.
Yeah, and neither is Robin.
Oh, that's a fantastic extra benefit.
Yeah, Robin. Horst, what would Hugelvelg be in German?
Gute Kerl?
What's her name? It is Gute Kerl. What would that be?
Gute Kerl is like a good boy.
Good boy. Good fellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah. And I think that is your role for stress there, right? Like she stands and she shakes her head. And she looks up at the CCTV camera above her and winks.
That is a 6 on the stress roll. So I think stress is going to go up.
Yes.
So I've leapt up from 3 to 4 and now to 5.
Cool. But you guys can exchange the books. Reaper, what's your move?
Do we want these Rook and Rowan fellows dead?
We have the tracker inside so that they can steal the book, and then we know where they are and who they are. Maybe
on the camera.
I'd forgotten about the tracker when I suggested Reaper would go there. I apologize.
Hey, backup plan, isn't it? You see on the camera that everyone is Rook staggers down the corridor, holding his mouth like that. He seems to be able to power through this. Just like he is in pursuit. Basically, everybody else is incapacitated.
You could kill Tom Cruise if you want to. I'm just joking.
So do we want, I'm just going to relay this to people, and it's like, do you want me to stop him? Do you want me to permanently deal with him?
No, we need to follow them. We need to find out for whom they work.
Fine.
You could follow them, though.
Let us have I think this is an exit strategy time, right? Though, if this is the thing, and Rook is essentially the person who might be following you at this point.
Yeah.
You also see all the goblin waiters begin to walk in a file down, and marching in unison, like the seven dwarves kind of thing.
Are they coming my way?
They, in fact, seem to be heading towards the room where Gilgamesh is.
I see.
The plant room.
Well, I am now more appropriately attired for this work. Boots, tactical gear, etc. I want to intercept those goblins.
Cool. You're going to run cover while the rest of them extract, and then make a bail yourself. I like it.
Yep.
Cool. Mr. Clock, Mr. Vogel, which one of you would like to make the flee for your life from Agent Rook as he staggers down the corridor towards you?
Mr. Clock?
Very well, Mr. Pink. I will make the roll. So talk us through the mechanics, please, Will.
So, flee for your life. When you want to escape your fate by leaving the scene, and Cornwall agrees is a reasonable route by which you could get away, for now at least, roll 1d6.
Excellent. There's no skill, it's just a roll, random roll.
Yeah, it is. Well, is the last thing I would say can apply here, because it will apply to your ability to sort of like make a quick getaway, know the routes. If you can get into a crowd of people, you'll know to like stagger down and pretend that you're throwing up, kind of thing.
Excellent. So rolling just 2 dice, the grey dice and the expertise dice. Let's see what we get. Excellent. We have a 5 on the expertise dice. So clearly Lasky knows how to do this.
And Rook's expertise has been cancelled by that gas that Alan put out there, so he doesn't rob you of yours, basically.
Yeah, you could spend heat to maintain the chase, Will, just to remind you of that.
I could do, yeah. I think I will spend heat to maintain the pursuit, because I think that the pursuit is that he goes, you do get out of that room, and it's Rowan who notices the open door to the basement as she pulls herself together. You see her grab a bottle of water from like a tank, like a big thing of water, and she just pours it down her face and soaks herself through. And then she's just like walking with a cloth. And as she's coming up, she's going to notice that open door down to the cellar as these Mr. Clock and Vogel have worked their way through into the subway escape. Right? It is all fucking pandemonium here in this thing. Gilgamesh, you're still on the CCTV, but you're making your way out, I imagine, at this point, right?
No, I'm going to seek relief from the horror.
You're going to seek relief from the horror.
Yeah, I want to reveal something about my teenage brother in this time. I think I want to insert a cut scene that sees my teenage brother coming out of a showing of oh God, what is it called? Guillermo del Toro's.
Oh, Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth, not Pandora's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth. Yeah. With some friends saying, "Oh God, it's just unbelievable, some of this stuff."
Nice. So,
and I will make him a target.
It's a cinema fan. Okay,
and reduce my stress by 1 before I flee for my life.
Okay. Let us have Reaper intercept these goblins as they come down the corridor. They come marching down the corridor towards you, stepping just past all of the collapsed and vomiting people. One of them starts to caper in some of the sick on the way, and the other one comes over and slaps him and drags him off by his ear and brings him along. Reaper, how do you confront them? Bucket?
Oh, you know what? Gas has already been piped in. We already have an incredible scene in the main hall. I'm not going to mess around. Grenades.
So much for discreet. Okay, roll to confront. Grenades, however, we will need to declare, we already declared the tech equipment and explosives for the safe house. So yes.
Alrighty, so I will add grenades to, and yeah, I'm using fragmentation grenades.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's not really much else that would make sense. And so let's see, that expertise, does that come into play here?
Yes, it definitely does.
Okay, so gray die, expertise, stress,
And
deadly
heavy die.
explosive.
Yeah.
And then how many risk die am I rolling? Or dice am I rolling?
You are going to roll 2 risk die.
All right. Oh my God.
Oh, dear.
The highest roll I got was a 3.
Oh dear, and that is matched by the risk die as well, isn't it?
Uh-huh. And just risk dice were 3 and 2.
So you on a 1 to 3, you fail, or I offer you success as a cost. I'm going to mark heat because you've just thrown grenades inside the Met Gala, for God's sakes.
Yep.
And I will offer you success at a cost. And I think that cost is going to be, let's see what the harmful consequences are. So you need to roll, let's tell you what, roll for harmful consequences first, and I'll think of the cost while we're doing that, right?
All right, what do I roll? Just D6?
Just a D6, and it is just going to be a D6 flat.
That's a 2.
That's a 2. The consequences are serious. Tell control if it's mortal, bloody, or painful.
Jesus.
As you are caught in the blast of your own explosives.
Can I just point out that you can always invoke your specialism to improve an outcome by 1 step,
which would actually get that 3 to a 4.
Which would make that become a 4. You're stuck with you're stuck with whatever happens, but your outcome improves.
Yeah. You
okay.
could yeah.
You know what? We're almost at the end of the session. We get to use it once per session. Alan, thanks for pointing that out. So yeah, I will.
Is that an improvement on the take them out roll?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So
and
you
that
succeed with no
the...
obligation or benefit. You blow them up. That you will still take the risk consequence there, but you will have blown up the goblins entirely.
Okay,
and I don't have to think of an extra cost for you either. You don't.
Does the 4 on deadly explosive outweigh the risk, the 3 on the risk die?
No, because it just improves the result basically.
The dice don't change.
Okay.
The outcome does.
Yeah. So we just pretend that basically that risk die matched your die anyways, basically. So you still roll the risk die.
So where are we on? What is it? Confront and relief? Is that where the
yeah? So you succeeded with no other complication or benefit. So you blow up for the things. You do get caught in a little bit of the blast. So you can choose it's painful. You cannot use your expertise until you get medical treatment. It's bloody, you'll die after one more action, or it's mortal, you feel your stress and crack. But I just go with it's painful, right? Like you catch
Yeah, I
things.
can't use my expertise until
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get medical treatment.
And yeah, but you do blow them away, and you don't take the horrible extra cost that I was going to give you, which I was going to have to really think about, but it was going to be something nasty.
Right.
Probably Tony Thumbs hears about your explosives and rats you out to the police or something, you know, but it doesn't have to happen now. So the goblins are, you know, blown away. They weren't expecting this, right? And the huge explosion goes off, and they scramble around. And then as the smoke clears, you see Robin, Goodfellow now revealed, glamour removed. You know, she's not really a she anymore. She's a sort of androgynous sort of like figure that's got this wicked smile on her face, and she just says, "So you're the one who's ruined my plans, my little japes."
I didn't say I'm the only one, but you know, as much as I'd love to stay and chat, I really have to depart. And I'll blow her an air kiss and just give her like one of those little finger waves and say, "Toodles."
Oh, don't forget your little friend. And she pulls open the door as Gilgamesh comes out, right? If you're leaving through the same route, right? And she bows and says, "Thank you for the entertainment, my dears."
Oh God, she's got Gilgamesh.
Because you were covering Gilgamesh's exit, right? And Gilgamesh is leaving as well. She hasn't got Gilgamesh. She's literally waving you both goodbye and smiling. Gilgamesh, what do you do?
I want to rip her throat out. Oh.
Do I know you? You look so angry. Usually it's people I've met who are so angry with me. But I don't think I've met you before, have I?
I put the dew claw to her throat and say, "The next time I see you, I will kill you, bitch."
Kill her now. If you're gonna kill her later, kill her now. Save yourself the time. Jesus.
I know that I have to explain to Reaper that I don't think I can kill her without spending a lot of intel, which I'm not sure I want to at this point. So I'm going to...
And Robin says, "Oh, she doesn't quite understand, does she?" And slits her throat across, right? And she says, she grins through a second mouth that opens up in her throat, and it talks as well when she says, "It takes more than that, dear. He knows. I don't think you have the time."
And I put my hand on Reaper's shoulder and say, "Let's go."
Yeah.
There'll be a time. There'll be a time.
And at this, you know, I had a gun in each hand. Like I was ready to start shooting, and you can tell I'm angry because of the way that I reholster the guns. Like it's almost petulant, like a small child being told, "No, you can't have a cookie, it'll ruin your supper."
Well, yes. Roll for stress, Reaper. You've never seen anyone slit their throat and seal it back shut again before.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of dead people though.
Yeah.
That's a 3. So it's less than my stress.
Yeah. It's true though. Maybe you know now that all of this shit is probably true, right? Like you've just killed a bunch of goblins, and yeah.
But hey, at least the second throat or the second mouth doesn't faze me.
True.
Probably because of how many times I've cut somebody's throat. And
yeah, well, I think normally this is the first time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but we cut across down to the basement. We can take it that you guys can slip out through the same route. You know, get down into the tunnel. And I think that as Mr. Clock and Professor Vogel are waiting for the others to join up with them down in the tunnel to make the exfiltration, they hear some footsteps coming down the corridor, and they hear a voice saying, Rook, you got it? Okay, I'm going to see who these fuckers are. At least they didn't get the book." and Rowan is approaching around the corner down the tunnel. Now, what do you want to do here? That's to Clock and to Vogel. The other two are behind, but you're in comms. You can just negotiate her. However you deal with her will open the way for the rest to get out of her.
We flee.
I agree, Mr. Pink.
Professor Pink, if we have to go with the pink stuff.
What did you say, Horst? I didn't quite catch it.
So we flee.
You flee. You're gonna run. You're gonna. We had to bug out basically. You're gonna go down a side tunnel and
tell Gilgamesh and Reaper, obviously.
Okay. Roll flee for your life then. Who's got the skills for that?
I mean, I think Mr. Clock rolled last time. I don't think anything I have applies though. Corporate insight situation.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like Professor Vogel to roll because I rolled last time, but I do have tradecraft, so giving somebody the slip, I think this is sort of under tradecraft.
And it makes sense that you would take the lead and Vogel would follow you rather than the other way around.
Yeah, as much as I would like to spread out the roles, I think there's something to be said for following the fiction on that one. So okay, Mr. Clock, I'll have to remember to split Professor Vogel off from all of his more competent companions at some point. But
well, no, his persuasion was key earlier.
Yeah.
Because I don't know anything. Here we go, rolling 2 dice. Let's see what we get. Oh, that's not good. But I haven't used whatever that thing was.
The expertise.
The expertise.
But your expertise is in
false face.
So that would be a different role entirely.
Yes. No, let's go with the 2 and 1.
The 2 and the 1. So on the 2 and the 1 for fleeing, you're in trouble. You choose to either get caught or agree with control who or what gets left behind before you mark a heat and try to flee for your life again. So
I wonder who could be left behind and isolated from the competent operators.
Yeah.
What are you insinuating?
Yeah, either that or you drop the manuscript. I mean,
what? No way.
No way.
What I could see is Professor Vogel like pressing the book into Mr. Clock's hand and saying something like, save the book, man.
I grabbed the book, hurry forwards, thinking the professor's behind me. And then I turned around, literally, I've turned a corner. Let's have some sort of like a sewer gas.
You turn, I think, like one way and then another way and then another way. And we follow and coming up behind you is Professor Vogel, right? And you think he's right on your heels and he turns one way and then he turns the other way. And then he's just like,
he's gone.
He's gone. And you're like, shit. Vogel, in the corridors, you turn, gone the wrong way, you turn back. Shit. Freeze!
Yes, I give up.
Who the fuck are you?
I'm Professor Vogel. You might have heard of me. I wrote a pretty comprehensive work about Friedrich Nietzsche.
What do you want with the manuscript?
I'm an academic. I want to study it, of course.
She just is right. You're coming with me. And she is just going to try and bring you in, Vogel. What do? You're going to resist? You're going to consent?
I mean, he is an officer of the Bundeswehr, a fierce army in its own right, never fortified.
She is pissed off. She is angry, but she does not rate you as a threat. You can get from her demeanor is more that she's just like, what the fuck are you doing down here? This is not who I expected to find, is a professor in tweed jacket.
So I think I would like to lure her into believing that I am completely innocent.
Mm-hmm.
Can I don't know how that mechanically would work, but could I persuade her to be?
If you persuade her to, she will definitely bring you in. I don't think there's a fictional positioning here for that. But if you persuade her, you could delay her long enough for the others to catch up with you. and step in, or you could, you know, she already underestimates you, right? Because she already doesn't think that you've got.
Okay, so I don't have to. Okay. I think I will.
Because I think the sheer level of like incompetence of that excuse is that I'm a professor in a sewer under the Met, like in the city.
Yeah, fuck it. I will like time it when next time she coughs, I draw my gun.
Okay, you draw your gun.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
I have small arms. I'm an officer of the army. Come on.
Well then, mark the gun on your equipment sheet. And
yeah, that's the last thing I can mark.
okay. And you're gonna shoot it out with her? Because she's like, fucking freeze, drop it now.
And I said, I'm a professor. I don't. What do you want from me? This is for my study.
And then you pull out the gun when she's.
And then I mean, what does he say?
Well,
I'm not drawing the gun.
If you've got the gun in your hands and you're not dropping it, she's going to do what anyone with a gun and training would do if you've refused to drop the gun after you've just pulled it out. She would just shoot you, you know, like she'll shoot you in a second.
Okay, I think that the fiction just changed a little bit. I wanted to say that, you know, when she takes me in, I draw the gun and shoot her or try to shoot her. But if she's pointing the gun at me and says,
oh, well, if you're going to do it when she's okay, so like, yeah, so roll to confront her. She's still in hand-to-hand combat, basically. Effectively, you've got your gun. She is going to try and beat the shit out of you.
Okay.
Even if she underestimated you, you are still rolling. I think. What would it be? The risk die. I need to just refresh myself on the risk die here. So
contractors don't. Oh, sorry. You carry on.
Yeah. I think it is just one risk die here.
Mm-hmm. Does any?
She doesn't have an expertise that cancels out your expertise.
Oh, okay, so it's just a D6.
She had a different expertise, which was the persuade expertise. Basically, she was better at seeing through bullshit. Rook was the one who was better at killing people. So you
just one, the gray one.
The gray one. Your expertise, because you are trained in hand-to-hand combat.
Oh,
and the risk die.
And the risk die.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I can just pick any one.
Mm-hmm. I usually start from the left, basically.
Yeah. Could I add stress?
Yeah, of course. Always add stress.
Well, I'd be damned if I don't. Okay, 4 dice. Come on.
That's a 5.
5 on the stress die. I think that makes total sense because he's a little bit out of his depth. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've just shot someone.
Yeah. So I the way I visualize it is that we get into this hand-to-hand kerfuffle, and then he manages to either get his gun out or even better.
You want to get the drop on her, like kind of like have her at gunpoint kind of thing, so that like she doesn't have her gun and you've got her, like the table's turned now kind of. Yeah, and she's like thrown against the wall by your judo throw, a gun skittering off. You've got the gun.
Like obviously slightly what's it called?
Shaky.
Like not shaky and saying, "Who are you? Who are you working for?"
What do you do when the exterminator's late?
Who do I what?
What do you do when the exterminator's late?
I don't know.
Well, you're not one of fucking us, are you? So pull that fucking trigger, you piece of shit. They'll find you.
Are you working for the Queen?
Are you with the Brits? The fuck?
Dude, do you know about the Fey conspiracy?
The fuck are you? And you can see, like, she's just like, what the fuck? And you can hear the footsteps of the others coming up the corridor behind you. She's just like, you better pull that trigger.
I'm not shooting an unarmed person. I might though. I might still shoot you.
She'll let you back off the corridor and down out of the way if you want. But
is there any chance that Reaper and I get there before he lets her go.
Yeah, that can happen for sure. Yeah, it can be that you catch up. You step up behind Vogel as he's got her on. But we see you walk into that corridor.
I'd
Can-
like to take a prisoner.
Yeah. Oh, you're coming with me.
I was going to say, can it be at the same time that Vogel says, I don't shoot unarmed people?
But I do. Yeah.
Exactly. And I would like to shoot to wound, like,
No, you don't have to shoot her. She's let's not have another just shoot her, because she's not, if you're taking a prisoner, you can coerce her to come with you at gunpoint to be your prisoner. It's just Vogel didn't have the, that's not his angle, is it? He was never going to take someone prisoner, but you two will do. Yeah.
I was assuming. I turned to Reaper and Gilgamesh. I mean, she doesn't know shit. She's not working for. She doesn't even know about the
Vogel, never assume that somebody doesn't know something. They may not know that they know it.
Well, I think this conversation is more interesting to be had in the safe room after you've got
Yes.
them all back, right? Because I think that's where we cut from the thing. You catch up with Mr. Clock with a book. You jump into the car that you've got stashed with a very annoyed and vomit-stricken Agent Rowan in the back. Her phone left behind in the sewer with its SIM card smashed. And so that's the end of the operation, I think, guys.
And who was the person
Technically-
we took prisoner in the hallway?
You
Is that Rowan?
That was Robin. You took Rowan prisoner in the sewers just now. Robin, you had at gunpoint, but she was just basically like, I don't really care about your guns. Silly
Yeah.
humans.
And took off.
And took off, yeah.
So, all right. So we got Rowan in the sewer. Is that correct?
So you have one prisoner.
All right. Thanks for clarifying that.
No worries. Where is the end of session stuff tracked, Alan? Again?
It's in Heaton. Where is it?
Heat and
It's
intel debrief favorite
Yeah,
prisoner. Yeah.
technically,
Debrief
the
success.
interrogation scene is before the debrief, and then
Okay.
in the debrief we decide what to do with her.
Then let us go to the debrief scene. Okay. Safe house. You have her strapped to a chair. And she's just like, look, can I have a smoke?
I have a pipe.
I'll pull out a pack of cigarettes and say,
You got Camels?
look, don't press your luck. They're not menthol. Count yourself lucky.
Okay. The debrief. So I think during the prisoner bit, we go around, right? And you get to do an investigation, asking questions.
The interrogation is in effect. Each of us has the opportunity to investigate.
Cool. Well, it was Gilgamesh's idea to take a prisoner. So let's start off with Gilgamesh.
Yeah, well, I snatched the cigarette out of her mouth to start with and crush it onto the floor.
She rolls her eyes and goes, so you're a bad cop then?
And then I show her the dew claw.
And her eyes like widen for a second. And then they
I
just
am
narrow.
so far beyond a bad cop that you cannot imagine.
The fuck? You people. The shit you do to yourselves. It never works out, It never works out. I've picked up more of you dead than you can remember, and I'll see you the same way. Roll investigate to see if you can get more.
Using authority, yeah. I'll include the stress dice. 5, not on the stress dice. So I do want to know who she works for.
The people I work for, the people I really work for, they look for people like you. People who aren't people.
Oh, I'm people. I'm people. I'm what people become. I'm wondering whether the yesterday folk know anything about this, what I'm beginning to think of as some kind of occult intelligence service.
Yeah, I think that you know, you've met, some of them yesterday, one or two of the yesterday folk, like the older ones. They didn't last long in the end because they'd been through so much already. But they spoke of something that they used to be a part of that was supposed to stop all this, but never saw this coming. Delta Green.
Ah, oh, thank you for that crossover.
Hey, thanks Shane for that crossover. I was wondering how I would do it in Against the Dark Conspiracy because it's a bit harder to mix two enemies in.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah.
very good, very good.
That was your investigation, right? And you got
Exactly.
a what was it? A 5?
I got a 5. Yeah.
Yeah. So is that enough? Do you think for a 5?
Oh, that's plenty. That's plenty. Yeah.
Mr. Clark, do you have any questions?
Yes. Does this cost me anything?
It's just a roll.
Oh, excellent. What does she know of, or what does Delta Green know of the Fairy Queen?
Roll your investigation roll. I'm not sure any of your skills particularly come into that. Tradecraft, maybe tradecraft, because you do know about spying and espionage, and you've been part of a secret society that would have been contemporaneous with Delta Green, unlike the yesterday folk.
Indeed. So 2 dice.
Delta Green. 2 dice.
That's
a 4.
A 4 and a 3.
A 4. They don't know anything about the fairy really. Delta Green kind of views the world in terms of unnatural, like things that go wrong and kill everything. They've in her experience, when you talk about fairy tales, she says that, like, look, I know that some of that shit's true, but it's no fucking fairy tale, okay? It's worse than I could ever explain. You sound like and what she will hint at is that she knows of, that there are other agencies in the world that failed as well. The Brits, for example.
The Persuaders.
Exactly.
Well, no, that's good. So we could possibly put her back in, and she could get Delta Green, investigate Fairy Queen.
Certainly, with all of your meta knowledge of Delta Green, as well as what's just been said, right? You know that this is essentially a group of people who should be on board with your mission, but would also just kill you because you're time travelers. Who the fuck knows what the hell that is, right? So
I'm good.
Yeah. Vogel?
I would like to know why they were supposed to steal the book. I mean, I can imagine why, but I want to hear her saying it.
It's got something in. It's got I don't know. Books. You don't read the book. Lesson fucking 1, right? You don't read the book. Reading the book's probably how your friend got fucked up like that.
So you would destroy it?
We keep it safe. Roll me a dice. Sorry, I should have asked you to roll. I always forget to ask you to roll on the investigation because I just want to give you the information, but it gives me a chance to put heat up and stuff. So, persuasion will work? Yeah.
Yeah, I would actually pull out one of Reaper's cigarettes and hand it to her and say, we are all friends here. I'm the good cop. That's a 4.
Nice. So yeah. So your exact question was what they wanted the book. It is that the book, they don't know what it holds. It holds some sort of occult significance. In the book, is said, the manuscript is said to have allowed some spells to have been cast.
Oh,
Basically.
interesting.
That's what you can read between the lines of her. Like, it lets people do fucked up shit. Okay, and Felicity.
Is everyone still in the room?
They can have left if you wish.
Yeah, because I kind of just want to sit down and bring her some coffee. Say, listen, that whole thing with the cigarette, that's bullshit.
Look, Quinn, get it over with, huh, Reaper?
So you know my name.
Yeah.
Big deal.
I'm a fucking Fed. Of course I know the tattooed girl who calls herself Reaper.
I don't call myself that. Come on. What kind of asshole calls herself Reaper?
I'm looking at her.
I don't fucking call myself that. So listen.
Listen, what you did to Petroni, I don't have any hopes, okay?
I didn't kill him.
Yeah, sure. What do you want?
I want two things. I want to find whatever killed Petroni and kill it. Because I promise you, you're a Fed, you know what I do, you know how I operate. If I'm sitting here telling you I didn't kill someone, all the shit you know that I've done, come on. You think I'd just like try to cop out on one? But here's the thing that I want to know that I think you can really help me with. I saw something tonight cut its own throat on, dude's claw. He showed him to you, backed and big and scary and shit. And this thing started talking out of its severed throat.
Okay. What's the question in particular? Okay.
I want to know how to kill it.
Okay.
Should I roll first before you start answering?
Yeah, you should roll for it. Because I don't think she knows how to kill it, frankly. But roll for it, and I'll see if I can give you something anyway.
So gray and stress. I cannot use my expertise until stress goes up again. 4 on the stress die.
You saw. So what I'm going to allow this to be, right, is that we'll bank this and we'll roll it into what I think is going to happen next with the rest of the group and this, and
Okay.
that we'll see how it goes with the prisoner. But if she is in some way on your side, then she will look into this Robin Goodfellow and Gutaco, and she will give you some intel on her, but at a later date, because right now you've asked the question of somebody who was the complication that I chose was the bad is who is the bad guy? The apparent villain turns out to have been misrepresented, or at least to a degree. So of course, Delta Green, they were stealing the manuscript, but they were stealing it for the same reasons you were, effectively.
Gotcha. Did this revelation shock her in any way? Like, did I see her eyes widen or anything?
No, she isn't. This is just like, she knows.
Tuesday for a Delta Green op.
Yeah, I've been a bad Tuesday, but hearing about other people's Tuesdays is never as bad as yours, right?
Right.
But anyways, so now I think that's full interrogation done of the spinner all around. So now we are on to the debrief success, right? I think, and I think that is that right, Alan?
Well, we need to decide what to do with her.
Oh, is that after the debrief favor prisoner and then the debrief success?
Yeah.
Okay. So what are you going to do with Agent Rowan?
Well, I want to get the operators together and say we need to reinsert her. We need to have her on our side.
I concur, Gilgamesh.
And I have more intel than I have ever had in my life. So I would like to spend
So you've
intel.
got 4 intel, right?
I've got 6 intel.
Yes.
You should only have 4 intel slots, right? Because you're an enchantment. So you were supposed to cross out 2 of your last intel.
Oh, I didn't know
Piling.
that. I beg your pardon.
That's
okay.
all right.
Okay, let's get rid of those. Fine. Oh, I didn't know. I had no idea that there was a consequence for that as well. Right. Okay.
Because I didn't want to make it the heat dice, because there's other ways of getting rid of that.
Okay.
So the stress, sorry.
I will spend an intel then in order to say to Agent Rowan, I'm going to give her a name of a Delta Green cell that the Yesterday folk know about. And it is I tell you what it is. It's the Delta Green cell that Holger Vogel belonged to.
A revelation.
Nice. I like that.
And I'm going to say, look up this guy, because I have a picture of him, don't I, that I showed the professor. Look up this guy in cell mystical distance. And that will tell you that we're on the same side.
And you're going to give the code word that they used. Yeah, because like she gave you the what do you do when the exterminator's late was the passphrase for her.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's gonna you give them that, so you've convinced her of one thing. Yeah, and so that means that you're reinserting her into the conspiracy.
Well, yeah.
A conspiracy, we should
into
probably
a
phrase
conspiracy,
it. A
right.
conspiracy. Yeah. So yeah, the Delta. You have a friendly Delta Green. You know she will go away from this, and you can ditch her in a car. You know, like you drive her somewhere. She doesn't know where she is. She gets out. She looks pretty pissed off and everything. Immediately goes and gets some beers, and then Rook shows up and picks her up. But she doesn't like sell you out before she's checked your story. And when she checks your story, you now have a friendly Delta. You have a friendly within Delta Green, basically.
Yeah, the rule says information broker. That seems to me to broadly fit. But Agent Rowan dash Delta Green. I put her in my contacts list.
Mm-hmm. Real name Agent Oliver, of course.
Yeah.
Sorry, in joke. So that's the end of the operation. I think you've got the manuscript. So you have the manuscript, which means that you can all you achieve the stated objective of the operation. I know you killed some supernaturals, but I've decided that I wanted to have like supernatural mooks in this, so they don't count for the, they don't tear up basically. They're just fictionally whatever. So you all get to reduce we all reduce the heat. I reduce the heat by 1, and you all get to reduce your stress by 1 now, immediately.
Cool.
But I again get to mark the heat back up again because you left conspiracy people alive on the scene. And is there anything else that brings the heat up, Alan? I can't remember.
A bomb attack on the Met Gala might just do that.
Yeah. It's a consequence, an operator end during downtime. Yeah, Charles Control says the team have drawn particular attention to themselves during an operation and also, pumping in noxious vomiting gas. So would I be able to mark it for each instance of things or just for one?
I think that's up to you, Control.
That's up to me. I am going to be quite harsh because I think explosives and then chemical weapon attack are both quite massively significant events, distinctly from each other even, frankly. So we are all the way up to alarm now. Thank you, guys. If you want to, I'll put an end to the recording now. That's the end of the session. We'll, okay, see you, internet.